Hi guys, so the haulage industry and logistics in general are a very important part of trade. You want to get your raw materials into the country as quickly and as cheaply as possible, and to export your finished product as quickly and as cheaply as possible to its market. Now, since Brexit, the haulage industry and individual drivers operating in that industry have been suffering the consequences of this disaster. You're going to hear from Rod Mackenzie, who's going to explain some of the problems that are facing the industry and the drivers for issues such as the age, immigration, and the cost of training up new recruits. Let's hear what he had to say.
We have a number of older drivers who are retiring. When Brexit happened, a lot of European drivers went home.
So a lot of European drivers went home. Now, they went home for two reasons. One, of course, being the toxic environment. The second, of course, being the immigration rules that were brought in by Priti Patel. Now, a big problem related to this is that the haulage industry need new drivers. It takes time and it takes money to train up domestic drivers. So it's much cheaper and much faster just to import drivers from abroad. But because of Brexiteers and their insistence on creating more obstacles for immigrants to come into the country, even skilled ones, it means that drivers, truck drivers, are considered a non-necessary skill. This means that the haulage industry are having problems to actually recruit new drivers. As you've heard, the market is changing. Older drivers have decided, look, we're not going to continue to do this. We want to retire. And European drivers are going home. So it's putting pressure on the industry itself. None of this was actually necessary. A decent immigration policy, which includes truck drivers as a necessary skill, would actually help bring in new drivers.
The COVID lockdown and furlough has led, I think, some drivers to consider their futures and whether there are other things they could do with their lives. The cost of training is a massive barrier. It's £7,000 a driver.
So £7,000 to train a driver. Now, this is for individuals. If you want to become a driver, you have to pay £7,000 to become a driver. Some haulage companies may foot some of this cost, but that means that they'll have to pass it on to their customers. An alternative would be for the government to actually pay for this, to fund this necessary training. But then that would be a cost to the exchequer, resulting in an extra cost because of Brexit, which would once again demonstrate that Brexit is not actually making business cheaper, it's making business more expensive. And as I've said, it takes time as well. So it's not just a matter of spending £7,000 and you automatically have a driver. You need the infrastructure behind that as well. You need the testing centers. You need the staff to test these people. This is not something you can create overnight.
And not many of us have that sort of money in the bank account to train ourselves. The treatment of drivers is pretty poor. Toilet facilities are few and far between.
And this is an ordinary aspect of the haulage industry anyway. This is nothing related to Brexit, well, apart from Kent perhaps. But yes, it's not a very easy sector to work in. There are the good aspects, and of course there are the bad. Now, when he talks here about the treatment, I wanted to show you, this is from the Road Haulage Association's own website, and this is a very worrying story. It says here, trucker attacked with iron bars in France. A trucker and his lorry had been attacked in France by suspected migrants. According to the company's social media channels, the driver working for Rogers Transport was caught in a roadblock near Calais and had their windscreen and cab door windows smashed by metal bars and breeze blocks. And then it goes on to explain what happened. The truck had stopped and it was attacked. Now, it goes on to say in the article, we are repeating our calls for the UK government to act to ensure that French authorities step up their policing efforts in these areas to keep truckers safe and cross-channel trade flowing. The UK is already struggling under the effects of critical driver shortage, and attacks such as these will do little to encourage new drivers to join the industry. So of course this is a problem separate, but it is a consequence also that because the UK is no longer interested in working with the European Union and of course France, it makes it more difficult to put pressure on the French government, to put pressure on the police in France to protect drivers, to arrest these people who are attacking the drivers. All of these are consequences of Brexit.
And they're often treated quite rudely, both at delivery depots and elsewhere. We've also lost 30,000 driving tests in the past year, which hasn't helped. And then IR35, which is a tax change, which has affected the tax status of some of them, has again made them want to hang up their boots.
Once again, an aspect that is generally overlooked, the bureaucracy regarding this. So changes to the tax system mean that fewer drivers want to get involved, or those who are already involved just have decided, look, this is enough. I don't want to do this work any longer. Considering the abuse that I take in Calais, for example, the treatment I face at depots, and then the fact that it's going to become more expensive because of the tax changes. Something has to change. I think the core aspect of this has to be reinvestment by the government in testing centres, helping drivers become trained up. This is not something that you can do once again overnight, but there has to be real investment in this. As I said before at the beginning of the video, trade depends on logistics and the haulage industry. You can't abandon this. You can't just leave it to the market. The changes that have come in since Brexit were not something that the haulage industry wanted. The haulage industry actually had pleaded with the government to put in checks to help the industry deal with the consequences of Brexit. And the responses on many occasions were, what do you think? Of course, Brexit will not be a problem. Brexit will be a boom for the haulage industry. You're going to be able to operate close to frictionless. But as we've seen, it's not so much the problems at the ports, it's the bureaucracy behind it as well. And something that probably wasn't really talked about at the time was the consequences for foreign drivers, the fact that their skills would no longer be considered necessary. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?